Okay, so Module 6, UMG, all about graphical interfaces. I am going to try to do several different types of interfaces. So what we're going to do is start with a menu screen. We're going to transition to a HUD and then work on in-game text. And hopefully have enough time to get it all done. There was a ton of resources out there to get this to happen. The hard part was trying to figure out what the best way of doing it was and what methodology I wanted to follow. The last portion, the in-game text, I will attempt to do it completely in C++. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, but that will be the goal. Alright, so to get started, we're going to go ahead and start setting up our game mode. You know, that game mode class we created at the very beginning of all these. We're actually going to start using it a little bit. So, right in our C++ classes, under our game directory, find our game mode class that we created, not the one that came with it. This is the one we created. This is the one that was created for us. We want ours. When this opens up, we will get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is actually make some adjustments in our build file. That would be the game312.build.cs. It's right there. And what we're going to do is put a public dependency in for UMG, and then in the private dependency we're going to use Slate and Slate Core. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Starting of course with UMG. And then coming down here and putting Slate. And of course, Slate Core. Alright, that should be all we need to do in this file. So we're going to go ahead and save it. And go ahead and build it from there. And once it's done building, we'll go ahead and close it. And move on to the header file. Okay, so it's done. So close, and like always, let's go to the header file now. What we're going to do here is create a public section. And here in the public section, we're going to create a U function. We're going to make it callable. Right there. And we're going to give it a category of UMG game. Being callable makes it so you can see it within blueprints. It's going to be a void change menu widget, and it's going to pass in the parameter. The parameter is going to be T subclass of a user widget. We're going to call that new widget class. I forgot to add an include, so we'll take care of that right off the bat. So include blueprint / user widget. Alright, so now we can go over to our protected section, and we're going to do a begin play override. Alright, and now we need another property. It's going to be a U property. We're going to set it to edit anywhere. It's going to be blueprint read only. I'm going to set it into the category UMG game. This is going to be a T subclass of user widget. We're going to set it to starting widget. Okay, so now we're going to create another U property. It's going to be a U user widget, and we're going to point that to a current widget. Alright, so now from here, what we got to do is start defining these. So get that little drop down. Alright, and now go back to the begin play. Go ahead and get this one started. And the begin play is going to be really small. So what we're going to do is we're just going to type it in right here. Of course, it's going to be the super begin play to start it off with. And then here, we're going to go ahead and set the initial state. So we're going to call change menu widget, and we're going to pass it in the starting widget. Alright, so that's our begin play, and we can continue on from here and go over and type in our change menu widget. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to start off by checking a condition. We're going to check to see if the current widget is set. So to do this, we're going to do current widget not equal to null pewter. So if this is true, then we're going to go ahead and remove it from the viewport. So we're going to do current widget, pointer arrow, remove from viewport, and then we're going to implicitly set this to null pewter. Alright, with that done, we're going to do another if statement, and now we're going to validate the parameter that's being passed, that new widget class. So new widget class, if it's not equal to null pewter, again, making sure it's not empty. If it's not empty, what we're going to do is we're actually going to set it to the current widget. So current widget equals create widget. And we're going to use the user widget, get world, and what we're going to do is actually apply the new widget class to it. Okay, we're going to have one more if statement, and this one's going to make sure that that last line was successful. So an if current widget not equal to null pewter, then what we want to do is current widget pointer arrow add to viewport, and that'll put it right on the screen for us. Alright, believe it or not, I think, yep, that is it. So we can save and compile and move on from here. Alright, so with that done, I believe we are finished and won't need this class open again. So we're going to go ahead and close it right on out. Alright, and back over to the editor, what we're going to do is create a couple classes starting with the player controller that we're going to need. So right click, new class, player controller. And here I'm actually going to show you something different, but we'll go ahead and name it just game 312 player controller. And then if you notice here the path, we can actually go ahead and click on that and we can create a path. We're just going to call this module 6. Alright, so just go into it and select it and hit create. And when that gets done, we'll have a new subdirectory in our classes called module 6. Alright, you may get this. Just go ahead and click reload. It's pretty standard. And then I got visual assist, so yep, there's the next error I was expecting. That's his visual assist thing, so I'm just going to click yes, and I knew this was going to happen, so I'll pop that up real quick. And in our header file here, we're just going to go ahead and put one function in here. It's going to be a public function. Virtual void good old begin play. Okay, and that's going to be an override, of course, and wait for it to pop up here. Save, and there it is. We're going to do an implementation of it. Of course, calling the super first. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to set the input mode. And we're going to set it to F input mode game and UI. And this is a function, so we got to make sure to put that on the end of it. And well, that's it. Save, compile, and we're going to move on. Alright, so back in the editor, what we're going to do is start with some file management. We're going to create a new folder in the content. So go to the root directory there and right click, go to new folder, and we're going to call it UMG. In that directory, we're going to go ahead and create a user widget. And we're going to call this one here MainMenu. And now we can go ahead and open it up. Oh, popped up on my other screen. We'll bring it over. And we're going to start laying the groundwork for what our splash screen is going to look like. So to start with, what we're going to do is get our title up there. So we're going to need to work on getting a couple of fields in here. So starting with a horizontal box. So type in box there, horizontal, drag that into our canvas. And then we're going to need a vertical box. And then we're going to need text. We're going to need two text. There it is right there. The first one is going to be our title. The second one will be our subtitle. And this is what your hierarchy should look like right now. We're also going to go from top to bottom. So our horizontal bar, we're going to set the anchor point to the top center. From there, we're going to go to the position X and do a negative 630. And the Y is going to be 120. And the size is going to be 1260. And the height of our box is going to be 400. And as you can see, that's going to be the general layout of our title box. Now we got to move over to the vertical box and get this positioned correctly as well. So you can see it here, and we got to go ahead and expand that. So to do that, we're going to hit fill. It's in our slot spot there. So click fill and make sure both horizontal and vertical are set. And now we can go over to our text. This is going to be our title. So we're going to go ahead and name it that. Title text. We're going to set the text to game 312. We're going to change the font to 163. And up here, we're going to go ahead and set it to fill, but we're going to change the horizontal to center. All right, so that being said, we're ready to go do the subtitle. We're going to label it as such. So subtitle, text. We're going to set it to fill and horizontal again. We're going to go ahead and set the text to C++ scripting in Unreal Engine. And we're going to set the font size to 43. Alright, so that's our title. And now we can go ahead and get started on the buttons or options. And because I like the way we formatted the title, we're going to follow the same format for the buttons. So we're going to type in box here. We're going to grab a horizontal box, drag that down onto the canvas. So our hierarchy is in check. And then we're going to grab a vertical box and put that into that horizontal box. Now we're going to need two buttons. And we're going to need text for those buttons. Alright, so like we did with the title, we're going to start from the top. So horizontal box. We're going to make sure this is anchored to the bottom center. And the settings, what we're going to do is set it up to 325, negative 400, and then 650 by 260. With that being said, we can go down to the vertical box now. We're going to select the fill. That way it fills both top and bottom. And that should be it for the vertical box. So let's go on to the button. The first button here will be the play button. The second one, let's click on that again. This is going to be quit. So quit button. Come back up to the play button. Select the text. And we're going to call this text play button text. And the text itself is, of course, going to be play game. Okay, now coming back up to the play button itself, we're going to set fill. And we're going to let it stay as both top and bottom, so vertical and horizontal. So if we move on to the quit button and do the same thing, it shares that space equally. So we can go ahead and click on the text. It's going to be quit button text. And we're going to set that to quit game. Like a so. So to recap, at this point your hierarchy tab should look like this. And our interface itself should look like this. Alright, so next what we're going to do is take these buttons and put some bindings to them. I like to click these buttons first, so go back to design view and click the other one. And this way we can see them both at the same time and work on them both. What we're going to do is start with the play button. We're going to drag off of that and we're actually going to open a level. I know we only have one level in the game right now, but we are going to create a new one here soon. So we're going to actually call our gaming world, which is our default one we've been working on. And believe it or not, that's done. All we have to do now is work on the quit event. And if you thought the open world was easy, well, no surprise. We're just going to type in quit game and select that function. And yeah, that's it. We're done. Compile, save. Alright, so now let's go back to the gaming world. And we're going to need to go ahead and create a couple of blueprints. Starting with our game mode. There it is. So we're going to go ahead and create a game mode blueprint derived from our game mode that we just put all the code in. We're going to call this one BP_play game mode. We're going to make sure it's in the blueprint folder. And the settings here, they should stay the same. Double check myself. Nope. We need to make sure that right there is actually set to the BP character. And for now, that should be it. So compile and save that, and we're going to close it. We can close that now too. We're going to make a duplicate of this one. And we're going to call it BP_MainMenu mode. Okay, so now we're going to create a blueprint from our player controller. We're going to go ahead, let's make sure it's in the blueprint folder. And actually UMG folder. It's more of a UMG thing. And we're going to call it MainMenu controller. Create that. Alright, so in here we got a couple of things, actually just one thing. The mouse event, which is right up here. That one. Make sure that's selected. Compile, save, and then we can close that. Go to blueprints, and we're going to look for our BP main menu mode. Right there. We're going to open that up. And over here, we're just going to make sure the starting widget is set to the main menu. And the default pawn right there is set to pawn. And now we gotta go ahead and look up our player controller and set it to the main menu controller that we just created. And that's it. So compile and save that. And now the next thing we have to do is actually create a level. So right click in our levels directory, create a new level. We're going to call it main menu level. We're going to select it. We're not going to do anything with it. We're just going to leave it black. But over here, we're going to go ahead and look at the settings. We're going to change the game mode override to the main menu mode. And from here, we should take a minute to save and compile. And with any luck, if this goes like I want it to, when you're on this level map, so when I have the main menu level in my viewport and I push play, I should see the menu. Alright, so there's our menu. And if I hit quit, it quits the game. If I go ahead and hit play, it brings me to my game. Alright, so there's the first interface I wanted to include into my project. And from now, we're going to go on to the next one. We will put a in-game HUD up on the screen. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it was helpful. And we'll see you in the next one.